After signing the divorce papers, my heart froze. I no longer spoke to him. I didn't touch the food he bought or acknowledge the gifts he left outside my door. Whatever we had, love, marriage, memories, died the moment my pen touched that paper. He once tried to come back to our bedroom. As soon as he stepped in, I walked out to the living room. He ended up sleeping alone, in his mother's old room. At night, I sometimes heard him groan, soft, quiet sounds from the next room. I ignored them. It used to be a trick, whenever we fought. He'd pretend to be in pain. I'd rush to him, scared and angry, only for him to grab me and laugh, pulling me into his chest. Back then, I worried because I loved him. But now, there was nothing left to worry for. He kept making those sounds, those half-hearted groans, as the baby grew. Every day he came home with something new, baby clothes, tiny shoes, children's books, toys. He was filling the room for someone who hadn't been born. Maybe hoping to rebuild something that had already fallen apart. But I didn't feel anything. Some nights, I heard him typing away. Maybe he was flirting online, looking for someone else. It didn't matter anymore. Then, one night, near the end of spring, the pain hit me like a storm. I screamed. He burst into the room, already dressed, as if he'd been waiting. He lifted me up in his arms, raced down the stairs, hailed a cab. The entire ride, he held my hand tightly, wiping the sweat from my forehead, whispering, "You're okay, we're almost there." At the hospital, he carried me all the way into the delivery room. On his back, I felt how thin he'd become, and yet still so warm. Was there ever going to be someone else in this world who could love me like this? As the doors closed, I looked back, one last time, and smiled at him through the pain. When I came out, holding our baby in my arms, he was waiting. He looked at me, his eyes were wet. He smiled. I reached for his hand. And then, he collapsed. "Stay with me," I screamed. He smiled again, weakly, but couldn't open his eyes. The doctors told me, liver cancer. End stage. He had been holding on for months. They called it a miracle he made it this far. I demanded to know, when? 5 months ago, they said. 5 months. That meant, all those nights. The pain, the silence, it was all real. And I had turned my back on him. I ran home, ignored the nurse's protests. I opened his laptop, and my heart shattered. There it was, over 200,000 words. A letter. No, a legacy. A message to our child. My sweet child. I held on for you. I needed to see you. That was my greatest wish. I wish I could be there for all your milestones, school, love, your first job. So I wrote everything I could think of. The questions you might ask. The mistakes you might make. When those moments come, maybe Dad's words can still guide you. I felt like I lived through your childhood while typing every word. Take care of your mother. She loves you more than anyone in the world. She's also the one I've loved most in this life. He'd written through every stage, kindergarten, middle school, heartbreaks, career, life. It was all there. And then, he wrote to me. "My love, marrying you was the happiest thing I've ever done. I'm sorry for the hurt. I'm sorry for hiding my illness. I just didn't want you to carry that burden while carrying our child. If you're crying while reading this, maybe you've forgiven me. Thank you. I've prepared gifts for our baby. I labeled each one for a birthday or special day. Please, help me give them." One by one, I went back to the hospital. He was unconscious. I cradled our baby and placed him gently beside his father. "Please," I whispered, "open your eyes, just for one moment. Let him see your face." Slowly, he did. He smiled. The baby stirred in his arms, tiny fingers wiggling. I pressed the shutter on my camera. Click, click. Tears streamed down my face. And in that moment, through the blur of sorrow and the weight of everything we never said, there was love, pure, real, unspoken.